everyone, welcome to 20 Sports Show here on TV Sapiens. Of course, 20 Sports Show is that program we've created where we talk to teenagers. And every other time here on 20 Sports Show, I take a different responsibility, a different role. Here, I tend to call myself a teens coach, because a lot of things that I do here on 20 Sports Show, it's majorly to coach the teens. My name is Oma, you're very sweet on radio and TV, and I've got with me Victor Mirack from Personal School of Learning, right?
Sure.
Glad to be here with you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I'm happy to, it's been a long time. When was it's been a long time last time we were here, right?
Sometimes we have to go on break and then come back fresh.
I'm glad to have you here with us.
Thank you so much.
And before we get into what we have to discuss today, let's get to know, for someone that is just watching us for the first time, who is Victor Mirack and what is Personal School of Learning all about?
All right. Thank you so much, ma. Always delighted to be here, being your program. My name is Victor Mirack, and I'm an academic mind therapist, and I am the Director General of Personal School of Learning Services. So who is an academic mind therapist? An academic mind therapist is someone who has the responsibility, or started with the responsibility of working on the minds of learners to improve on their learning. Okay. We are not teachers. We are not classroom teachers, in as much as we also have a time to teach. But what we do is that we diagnose what actually is the problem of people, whether students, lay people, any kind of person. Because a student is actually someone who is under the tutelage of another person. So when we say you're a student, adults will say, I'm not a student. Why? Because they're not wearing uniform. But who is a student? Anyone who is receiving an information from a source. Okay, so an old man can be a student. Why? Because someone is actually dishing out an information and you're getting it. So as an academic mind therapist, what we do is that we work on the minds of people. First of all, we diagnose why you have issues with learning. Okay. And then how best you can interpret information or interpret thoughts for maximum understanding. So both the communication of it, the interpretation of it, all are the things we do as an academic mind therapist. So when we discover learning challenges, we sit the child down, or we sit the person down, speak with the person. At the course of speaking with the person, we can be able to now deduce that this is actually where the learning is from. And then we can now bring in therapies. That's why we say we bring in therapeutical activities and words that can actually help to power the energies of the mind. So that is why we are different from teachers. Okay. So once we enter the class, we might sit with teachers while they're teaching the students, and we're observing. Okay. Because at the end of the day, we can come up with, this is the reason why this child didn't understand. Sometimes the fault might come from the teacher. Sometimes it comes from the parents, then sometimes from the students. Then most times it comes from the environment. Okay. So these are all the things that an academic mind therapist tend to observe and then be able to work on the minds of the person. So this is what we do in PSL services.
Beautiful. That's really amazing.
Thank you.
So let me ask you, is it even possible to have a child? Is there any person that is dull in the world?
Sure.
Are there dull people?
Sure.
Like, is it possible to have someone that is talentless? Someone that can't even understand that, I'm asking this question because you find a situation where some teachers give up on a particular child, saying that this child, they've done everything, that this child finds it difficult to understand, For example, yesterday, in the market, a particular parent was actually complaining about her children. According to her, she said that anything they tell her to do, that she does it. Whatever money that she's told to pay, that she pays it, to ensure that the best kind of teachers come to teach her children. However, I found out something. Okay. The area where they stay is low-income earners who live there. Okay. And you know the kind of teachers that teach in schools that are located in low-income earners. You know, there are few teachers that are passionate. Sure. Some teachers that teach in schools where low-income earners live, they are not passionate about their work. There are just few of them that are passionate about their work. And I've come to realize something else, that when you pull a child from a place where there are low-income earners, where at school, where low-income earners children attend, and send that same child to another school where the curriculum is higher, where the standard is higher, they actually find it difficult to
blend.
So the question is, as an academic mind therapist, is there something that can be done to a child who a teacher has termed dull to improve the learning capacity of the child?
Certainly, first of all, you need to know that there are DNA effects.
Okay.
Right. Genetic issues.
Okay.
It affects people most times. Okay. But apart from that, a classroom teacher is different from an academic mind therapist.
Okay.
The work of a classroom teacher is just to come teach you the subject and go. Right. But when you talk about an academic mind therapist, someone who even works on the teacher.
Oh.
He is not only restricted to the child, he also works on the teacher by creating a system of presenting an information, communicating information, interpreting information, considering the mind learning language of the child. There's something called the mind learning language, which is the dominant learning style of a child. So if a teacher does not know some of these things, there is no how. He will just teach normally like other teachers. Now, talking about students in low-income areas, psychologically, it affects. Whether we like it or not, it affects. Because what will be taught in that place and what will be taught in the other place are not the same. That's number one. Number two is that the environmental factor affects the mind psychologically. So you can't say that the child is dull. You can't totally rule the child off until you change the child's environment.
Okay.
Because the teacher that teaches matters. In fact, what the teacher that is even teaching you, what does the teacher know? What training has the teacher?
Yeah.
Or is it just normal thing we do now? Somebody will just finish secondary school. They fix the person in school. He's teaching or she's teaching. Or someone will finish youth service and then they fire the person straight to school. Sometimes I look at NYC and I'll be like, why would someone who is not interested in this, at the end of the day, you just graduate the person from school, shift the person to the NYC orientation camp. After the 3-week stuff, you push the person into school to teach what? That is why I ask the government to look into this. If you can bring academic mind therapists into the system, if you can bring our organization into the system, where we come in, what we do is that in the orientation camp, that is where we begin to run a basic training on how to train the minds of these children you want to teach.
Okay.
How to communicate that information, how to interpret it, because nobody has time to teach you those things. So if such a basic training can be run before they leave the camp, then once you post them into schools, they have this basic training and they know how to teach these students, considering their mind learning language. So it is possible that someone can be termed dull by a teacher who is not trained on how to not just teach subjects, but how to also diagnose that there are learning languages of children and how they can actually interpret this information. When a teacher combines these two, it makes the child a perfect teacher. But get this, in my organization, what we normally tell our parents is this: in PSL services, what we do is that we try to train the child to become his or her own self-teacher.
Okay.
In case if he doesn't have a teacher who can actually deliver very well.
Okay.
Because when you are trained cognitively, you can become your self-teacher. Right. So it is possible that it can happen. But if teachers can be trained, not just on how to teach subjects, but on how to even prepare the lesson note, you know, in trying to interpret information. Like there was a time I talked with you in this program, and I said, there's no how I will teach someone and you will not understand.
I remember.
Until tomorrow, there's no how. If I teach 100 people, there's no how 95 will not follow.
And you know, talking about teaching, you know, the difference between teaching and academic mind therapists, even though that's not what we're talking about today, but it relates to what we want to discuss today. Okay, I realized that some teachers, they see writing lesson plan, lesson notes as a huge responsibility. You know, when you see them complain, oh, I have to write this lesson note, I have to write this lesson plan, I have to do this, I have to do that. I'm just wondering, that lesson plan, that lesson notes, is it not just a guide to help you with what you're doing so that you prepare for your class, you prepare for your lesson?
My dear, may I say this? The lesson note you prepare and the lesson plan you prepare, truth be told, psychologically, it has no effect on the children.
Does it even have the effect on the teacher? I mean, the teacher that is preparing the lesson plan. Is the teacher even involved in the lesson plan?
It is just a status quo that has been set, that you must prepare that to please the school.
The school.
Not actually. The impact is not directly on the students. That's why I will always say, to me, even taking time to prepare those things will even waste my time. My own is, I'm interested in how do I configure this, my teaching, in a way that it can actually penetrate the mind and bring out understanding. What is the essence of writing beautiful and awesome lesson plans and lesson notes, and at the end of the day, communicating becomes an issue? That's why I also in my training run special trainings on communication and presentation of information, of thoughts. How do you actually program this? Before you can be able to even write a lesson note, you must put into consideration the mind of your students into cognizance. We have 3 learning languages, major learning languages: auditory, visual, and tactile. So if I'm preparing lesson note, I'll be thinking, okay, if I prepare this now, who will this thing affect? Will it only affect the auditory learners? Will it also affect the visual learners?
The 3 of them are in the same class.
The 3 of them are in the same class.
Maybe in a class of 50 or in a class of 60.
So these 3 sort of people, but most teachers are not considering that. So they will just come and use one learning language, which will at the end of the day benefit only those percentage that particular learning language is dominant to. So as an academic mental therapist, we tell you as a teacher, even while you are trying to prepare this note, consider these 3 learning languages and find a way you can program this training or these classes.
All right, for the benefit of people who are watching us right now, can you explain more on the 3 learning languages? Okay,
we have 3 learning languages, major learning languages. One is the visual learning language, which comes by what can be seen. So those notes you are writing on the board, they are seeing it, they are reading it, they learn faster. So that's why if you give them bulky notes, bulky textbook, they can read it and learn. Then we have auditory. Auditory are people who are good at what they can hear. So in my training, I will always tell them, if you're an auditory learner, convert what is written, your notes, to audio. And there are techniques to do it. Because so that you can just place it and you learn the same thing that a person that is reading his textbook will learn. Then we have tactile. Tactile are people who says, let's put hand to do this thing. Let's go to
practically.
Once they do it practically, it enters.
It's there.
So even if they don't open their book, even if they don't do anything, they will remember everything that happened the day you were saying it and how you said it. And sometimes they will be like, okay, sorry to divert. In the current bootcamp training we are running now,
you're running a bootcamp training?
Yes, there's a bootcamp because my organization affiliated with a company called School Droid. It's a tech company. Okay, so what we do there is cognitive aspect. That's our organization. Then they do the tech part. Now, something happened after the robotic class. I told them that after running my own cognitive class, they're going to program what I taught them on cognitive using robotics.
Oh, wow. Here in Onitsha?
Here in GRA here.
Oh, wow.
So they all sat down, just 1 student, primary 6, at their level, everybody with their laptop. And they start writing the program. And I said to them, 1 person should be in your program. Put John to be Mirack, which is me. Put the other person to be you. Mirack is now teaching you this cognitive. So you are programming everything. So as they are talking, they are sharing this thought. So what I'm telling you is the tactile part, where somebody is now putting it into practice. So he will not forget those things he did with his hand. So these are the 3 sets of people inside a class. So every teacher that is well trained is supposed to have this mentality and find a way to blend what he's doing, not only just writing lesson notes and lesson plans.
Exactly, and that brings us to the exact thing we needed to go through this route to come down to what we are doing.
Yes,
Of course, it's 12th of August, and the world celebrates International Youth Day today, 12th of August. And it's a day that UN has set aside to shed the light on young people and how young people are drivers of every economy.
Sure.
No economy will ever survive without the young people. Young people are the people driving the economy, and today the UN celebrates them. And of course, the theme for this year's celebration is green skills.
Yeah.
Green skills for a sustainable environment. Sustainable development of the environment. Of course, we are now talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, which is by the UN for the 2030. That's the 2030.
Between 2030
between 2030 to 2050. Although they've advanced it.
Okay.
Because according to AU, that's African Union, they are now talking about 2063.
Oh.
Yes.
But it's beginning from 2030.
From 2030. Yeah. But for now, we are still running because we still have like seven more years. This is 2023, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have 7 more years to get to 2030, which will now be the first phase of this one that is currently running. So the thing is, they're talking about green skills. What are these? Because we just talked about skills. We are now looking at teachers, okay? Most times you find out that a teacher, you just talked about 3 learning languages.
My learning languages.
I bet you most teachers that are being paraded in our secondary schools, they don't even know these things.
Sure.
And again, schools, what efforts are they even making to ensure that these teachers have these skills? Now, as a young person, as a teenager, as a young person, because if you are looking at the youth, you're talking about between the ages of 18 to 35. That's according to UN. But I tell them, you don't peg
18.
it. Don't peg it. No,
before 18.
Apart from before 18, don't peg it at 35. So you're telling me that a 40-year-old person is no longer young, or that a 45-year-old person is no longer young?
I would.
Okay, well, we are looking at skills. What are these green skills that young people can actually imbibe, learn, skills for the future? What are these skills that young people can actually imbibe and learn to get themselves equipped for the future?
Right. Of which, whenever you talk about green, you talk about nature.
Yeah.
And whenever you talk about that nature, you talk about safety of nature, preserving nature, and ensuring that nature is not affected. That's where the sustainability comes into place. So we are looking at young people, and once you talk about the future, we're talking about young people, and we're looking at 2030 upwards. So the young people, what you're supposed to look at, there are different things we should be considering. There are different skills, of which I will just pick 2 amongst them. The first one I will pick, because they are young people, education is the first skill that must be picked.
True.
See, anything we are doing in this world and negating education. See, any country where the citizens are messed up, that's a country where education has been tied and suffocated. So, but any country where education is well appreciated, you see, the minds of people are being transformed and things works. So the first skill is the educational part. How to develop their learning. How to develop themselves to learn better. Today I was teaching a just one. How he can interpret different thoughts from different tutors. Get this one on, get this one on. Sit on your own. And think about them. Brood on them. I gave the guy skills, system on how to break this thing. Your dictionary will be there, your internet will be there, all these things will be there, different textbooks will be there. Get different authors' view, break these things down, get an overview of everything. See, by the time you finish that exercise, your brain will widen. And once that happens, you discover that any other information you get, it becomes easier. So interpreting an information written on the textbook or being said by someone will be easier for you. So knowledge will be easy for you to grab. So which means that's a skill on how to interpret thoughts of people. Thoughts written on books and the rest of them. So educational skill is first, which will help us to solve our real life problems.
Exactly.
The number 2 skill that is very, very important is tech skill.
Technology.
Tech skill. Super awesome. You must come to the point where you know what to do with tech to make the world a better place. In fact, that is where the world is going. That is
where the world is right now.
That is where the world is going.
Have you been seeing these AI generated pictures?
Everywhere. In fact, I said to some people, don't fall in love with all these pictures you are seeing, because if you see somebody as beautiful as the person is, you better see the person in real life, But it's actually where the world is going.
That is where the world is right now. We are talking about artificial intelligence.
Sure.
We're talking about how to sustain the world. And just like you said, education is the way to go.
Education is the way.
And when we're looking at technology, what other skills in tech can a young person imbibe?
Every young person should think of software development.
Okay.
You think of getting knowledge on machine learning, artificial intelligence, machine learning. All those things are in fact, they are the mother of everything. Because with it, you can sit down and program whatsoever you need to program, and it will be working perfectly, replacing human beings. I heard of chat GTP and the rest of other ones. Somebody will just come, put everything in chat GTP, everything will just summarize, and then you discover that in the nearest future, human beings may not be needed in some things.
But to be honest,
although it has its negative effect, I must always confess, everything about life has negative effect, has positive effects. It has negative effect, because I was telling someone all these things will certainly subject the mind to sleep.
Yeah, true.
Nobody will now be interested
in thinking,
to work on his mind.
To think critically.
Why? Because the system is thinking for you.
It's there.
Everything is doing the work for you.
Doing the work for you.
Okay, so but you see this.
But another thing that whenever I discuss AI, artificial intelligence, I remember that the AI was actually generated using human brain.
Sure. Yes.
In fact, the work AI is doing is just a little percentage of what the ordinary genius can do. So that is to say that even with the AI is just there to help improve your efficiency. It should not take away your efficiency from you.
That's the point. It should not take away your efficiency. It is meant to improve. That's where education comes into place. These things must be balanced. That you are using these AI design tools should not make you to be lazy. Because so many persons will be 100% lazy. They won't be doing anything as good as it. So it is meant to improve what you know. In other words, you should be getting more and more insight to bring more and more AI tools. Ideas. So you shouldn't just stop. But the danger of it is that many persons will just relax. Nobody is there to think. Nobody is there to rack his mind or her mind to actually exert pressure on this mind. See, God actually gave us this for us to be using it to be bringing innovations and creativities. But if it happens like this, I think we should be educated on how to use it rightly. Then there's another skill I want to add.
Okay.
That is biogas skill.
Okay.
Very, very important. Like I and my boss actually started up something. He used biogas to actually design a gadget or equipment where he cooked with the biogas. I was asking him, what are you cooking with? He said he's cooking with the physics. I was like, cooking with physics. In fact, he showed me, and the flame was blue flame. This one is not because these are some of the things we are planning to do. So he said everything he did was from the physics from the toilet. And the way he configured this thing, I can't tell. What I know is that I was just seeing that blue film. I saw the container where he packed the physics. The whole other tech work he did inside there is what I cannot explain till today. And what I'm seeing is blue flames. Just like gas. No harm. Nothing. I was imagining. He even said something to me. He said even the heat that is being generated in the kitchen when you're cooking can be converted into energy, and that he can actually do it. These are some of the things that the government should be looking out for. People that can actually get these things done. This is helping our society. And you're looking for where you invest. Go invest there. And then we reduce all this fossil stuff that is actually affecting the climate change, of which we know why the UN is actually doing all these things. The effect of this thing on the ecosystem. So they are now looking for a way, how can we change this world from carbon-based economy to other economy that can help to sustain the ecosystem? Because almost maximum percentage of the economy of the country is coming from carbon emissions and carbon exhaustions. So we need to reduce and we need to leverage on other sources. So that is why the UN is actually pushing these green skills. So we should look at other things that can help to reduce this carbon emission and also reduce the effects or the dangerous effect on the planet and people. So the young people are the people we're supposed to train, educate them, invest in these things, and then this thing will help us to encourage the young people and then help the society. Not carrying the money and you putting where I don't know.
Okay, so if we try to break this down to a level where a teenager will understand, how can a teenager learn these green skills for the future?
The point is, if the country where we are have source for that, have avenue for that. If we have avenues for that, then. But I will encourage that they source out for people who have these skills already. Like that, my boss. He has that skill already. He has actually traveled out of the country.
I think next time we're going to get to know more about this boss of yours.
He needs to be here because he has a whole lot in his head.
Definitely. Like I look forward to having that boss of yours on this program. I think we've run out of time right now.
Sorry, ma'am.
We always have a way of running out of time, especially when we get into this discussion, and we are still going to have this, continue with this discussion. Thank you so much for coming through, for coming here. And these other methods, you know, this learning language that you talked about, another time on the program, we are still going to look at it, because a lot of teenagers need to understand their learning language, because I believe that when someone understands how he or she learns, it will help that person to learn even better. Thank you so much for coming. So, of course, Victor Mirack from Personal School of Learning, right? Yes, an academic mind therapist. He said it's different from being a teacher, right? Thank you so much for coming here. And as a teenager, as a young person, endeavor that you imbibe skills for the future. These skills are skills that will set you apart, that will make you become a high flyer in the nearest future. I am Oma, your very sweetheart on radio and TV. I look forward to having you yet again on 20 Sports Show. Happy International Youth Day. God bless you. Bye-bye.